Thanks to our friends at The Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. Visit fool.com/ASYM for the top 10 stocks to buy right now. Matterport reported earnings after the market closed on Monday, and finally investors are getting some good news from this company. Stock is up 21% in early trading on Tuesday as I'm recording. So I want to go through all the results, show exactly what the trends are, what the market is seeing as a positive. This was an earnings beat, so that's always something that we want to keep in mind, is that the day-to-day reaction on the stock market is typically going to be, did management beat either their own guidance or what analysts were expecting? That was the case. But long term, we want to know that this company is going to be in a much healthier position 3, 4, 5 years from now than it is today, because Matterport is still losing money. So I'm going to go through all those numbers today and give an idea of what I'm looking for in the future. My name is Travis Hoyam. Thanks for watching Asymmetric Investing. Please subscribe here on YouTube for all my content. And thanks to this video sponsor, The Motley Fool. Check out fool.com/ASYM for their top 10 stocks to buy right now. I want to just start here with the stock reaction, because this is what I'm looking at as I'm recording. You can see that the stock's up about 21%, still under $3 per share. So put this into a little bit of context. Matterport stock is down 79% since early 2021, and the stock did peak at nearly $30 a share, to 27 some dollars per share. So still down over 90% since then. But we're looking forward, we're not looking back. And that brings us to the quarterly report for the third quarter of 2023. Here's the high level numbers. Total subscriptions, which is something that Matterport reports each quarter, up 35% to 887,000. This is starting to be a pretty meaningful number. So I definitely see that as a positive. Total revenue up 7% year over year to $40.6 million. I'm going to break that down because there's a number of different segments that we want to look at, and they're not all equal within Matterport's business. Subscription revenue, which is going to be the highest margin, most recurring revenue, is $22.9 million. And then they said annualized recurring revenue, which is basically just that subscription revenue times 4, $91.4 million. Net loss was 15 cents per share, but on a non-GAAP basis was 4 cents per share. Cash used in operating activities, $15.5 million. This is really one of the key numbers, is the cash that's actually going out the door, because Matterport is growing, but it's relatively small. And so we're still at the point where they can't cut operating costs enough to get to cash flow positive, like some of the SaaS companies that we've seen turn to profitability really quickly. I don't think Matterport can do that just because they're not at that scale, but they do have a lot of cash on the balance sheet. If we go down here to the balance sheet, you can see there is over $400 million in cash on the balance sheet right now. So that's a very long runway given the $15 million burned from operations. In the first 9 months of this year, $48 million burned from operations. That's down about 50% from a year ago. So again, these are the trends that you want to see, is operating costs coming down, but revenue going up and getting a little bit of operating leverage. And this is the income statement. Here's a few of the things that I want to highlight for investors. Subscriptions, this is what you want to see growing the most. So we're seeing steady growth there. I talked about that earlier because this is a very high margin business. Services is going to be basically an enabler to subscriptions, companies that need some sort of services like mapping services. So they're going to pay for that. Matterport's going to generate a margin, but only a margin of around 30%. So that's exactly what we see here. Product has historically been a money-losing business. They're now making a little bit of money on that. But if revenue was growing just in the product segment, that would not be as good as if revenue was growing more quickly in the subscription segment. But here's the other thing that I want to highlight, because this is the other trend that we need to watch. Not only do you want revenue to grow and gross profit to grow, you want operating costs to, at the very least, be flat, if not down. And that's exactly what's going on at Matterport. $69.3 million in operating costs. That's down from $75.4 million a year ago. Management is spending about $30 million a quarter on stock-based compensation. So that's another thing. That's another non-cash expense that does go mostly into the operating line. So that's going to be something that's pulled out again in those non-GAAP numbers. I'm going to just go through a few of the charts that Matterport showed, because this shows the consistent improvement in Matterport's financials. This is the subscription revenue. And one of the things that I was worried about was that we were seeing a plateau in revenue growth in 2022 and then into 2023. And you can see that it has now accelerated So again, if you're looking out 3, 4, 5 years, this is something to be excited about, is the potential acceleration in revenue from the subscription segment. 22.9 million in revenue. Keep that in mind because I'll get to guidance in a second. This is another way to look at the numbers. Total revenue, 36% CAGR, compound annual growth rate, and then an improvement in non-GAAP losses. If this continues, management will get to that profitable number in 2024 as they expect. I talked about this a little bit earlier, but this is just explicitly laid out the gross margins in these segments. You can see that 77% gross margin for subscriptions, really phenomenal. Products now positive and actually trending in a nice direction. And then licenses, 100% margin, but very small business, and services, 35% margin. So those are pretty good margins, and they're all moving in the right direction, highlighted by the subscription segment. This is the guidance that I mentioned earlier. You can see that non-GAAP loss per share is expected to be about flat. 4 cents is what it was in the third quarter, so they're expecting 3 to 5 cent loss in the fourth quarter. And subscription revenue, not going to grow a lot. So we will see where this comes in. But $22.9 million in subscription revenue in the third quarter, only going to be up between $100,000 and $400,000 is what guidance tells us. So moving in the right direction, but again, you need to see that acceleration in the growth rate. Now that we've gone through the numbers, I want to just quickly highlight some of the other operating metrics and partnerships, because this is one of the things that Matterport's in this phase where they're building these partnerships, but we're not seeing Matterports be ubiquitous everywhere. But you're starting to see consistent growth in spaces under management, consistent growth in subscribers. Those are both positive trends. And then we have a lot of potential markets for Matterport. Again, all of these, I think, on their own make a lot of sense, but which one is going to grow the most? Where are you going to get significant revenue? Real estate, this is architecture, engineering, construction, travel and hospitality. So Airbnb, I think, is a really natural fit. Repair and insurance, again, another very natural fit for Matterport. And then industrial facilities, all really great uses for Matterport, but you got to plant a lot of seeds if you're management to see exactly what's going to grow. A number of interesting partnerships that have been announced. Siemens is one. They have partnerships with AWS. And then actually just announced a new one. This will allow people to create CAD files directly from their Matterport digital twin. So if you have ever worked in or around the architecture and construction space, this is going to be a really good value add for that industry. A lot of moving parts here for Matterport. It's interesting listening to their conference call because management has a really easy time talking about here's the ways that we could help or disrupt a number of different industries. Real estate is one they spent a lot of time talking about. And I think those things make a lot of sense. But realistically, you have to turn that potential disruption into an actual business, and you have to grow that revenue. We're starting to see that, and the fact that it's at least on the horizon that Matterport could get to the point where it's free cash flow positive, even if it's not net income positive, I think is a positive trend. So that's what to look for going into 2024. Do these subscription revenues continue to grow and actually turn the business into a potentially growth business where you're getting positive free cash flow and you start to get a flywheel effect from the Matterport platform? I think that's the really bullish case for Matterport. But in the meantime, you have a company with a great balance sheet. There's plenty of cash to fund losses even for a number of years. But it doesn't look like that's going to need to happen if they're able to reach their goal of being profitable in 2024. So this is why the stock was up so much in trading. Early on Tuesday, we're starting to see a little bit of momentum in the right places for Matterport. There is a long ways to go, and that's the reason the stock is down as much as it is from its highs, about 90% from its all-time highs not that long ago. But again, this is the kind of company that could potentially be a growth stock for the next 5 to 10 years. So if you have that kind of time horizon, this is one to definitely at least keep on your watch list. And I'm going to be covering this more on this channel because I think Matterport is the kind of company that could build out a really nice niche in the software business. I've been using their products for a very long time. I have also been a shareholder since around the time it was announced that they were going to merge with the SPAC that they ended up merging with. So been a very rocky road, but I think operationally we're starting to see Matterport trend in the right direction. So what do you think of the results and the direction Matterport is headed? Love to hear your comments in the comment section below. Don't forget to subscribe to Asymmetric Investing. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you here next time.